Hey there, hi there, ho there. Today we're going to learn how to build a deck. Welcome to the channel. My name's Sam Kirk, and today I'm going to show you how to build a deck. So the first thing you're going to want to do is listen very closely. Then you're going to want to get some packs of product. Packs of product that has cards that you want. And then you're going to buy those packs, search for the product, and hopefully get the cards you need. And if you don't get the cards you need, you'll have to buy them from your friends or trade for them. But once you do have all the cards you need, let's go into some very specific techniques. First thing you want to do to build your deck is get cards. But the next thing you want to do to protect your deck is get deck boxes. Now, let me show you the deck that I am currently playing. Let me just sort it out real quick here. And we'll get right into it. While I'm sorting out the deck, let me tell you a couple things about deck building. Number one, you want to make sure that all your cards work together, that you've got some synergies, and that you always, whenever you draw a card, hopefully whenever possible, you want to be able to use it. Because if you're stuck with cards in your hand that you can't use, those are called dead cards, and those are bad. Whenever you draw a dead card, you feel a little sad inside, knowing that you never quite made your parents happy, and that now you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And you're not content with your life. That's what it feels like to draw a dead card, and we do not want to do that. So, I will say again, do not draw dead cards. And how do we not draw dead cards? Don't put them in our deck. That is rule number one of deck building. Sorry if I'm a little stuffy. Got a head cold. It's not the Rona, it's just a head cold. If I did have the Rona, I'd let you know, because I'm not going to be the kind of person that gets bitten by a zombie and then doesn't tell the other survivors. Because it's just not Christian. Alright, now, to start off, welcome to the channel. My name is Sam Kirk, and today I'm going to be showing you how to build a deck. Now, if you've got a house, 4 walls, a roof, and a door, maybe a window, then I'd say the next thing you need is a deck. There are all kinds of decks. You've got big decks, small decks, fast decks, slow decks, monster decks, spell decks, trap decks, and no extra decks. Tons and tons of different types of decks to play. And if you spread them all out and go like this, yeah, it looks pretty cool. Right into it. So to start off, I run Edlich Numeron, which I've been having a lot of fun with for 2 reasons. One, I've got a lot of things in my deck that help me draw, and I've got a lot of cards in my extra deck that help me win. And if I can use my deck to draw the cards that I need to get into my extra deck to win, that's pretty fun. Not for my opponent, but just for me. So, the Numeron cards, I run 3 Numeron Wall. I run 2 Planet Pathfinder because 8 copies of the same card in your deck just isn't enough. I run 3 Memories of Hope. I'll explain this in a minute. But I run Numeron Network, which activates, sends Numeron calling to the graveyard, and then lets me win. And I've got Terraforming to search it out. So, I'll explain one thing about decks. Your limit right now is 40 cards. you have to have at least 40 cards in your main deck to play Yu-Gi-Oh! You can have 40 to 60. But the strategy is, with deck building, you only want to put cards in there that you want to see and that are good in multiple situations. You want to be able to build a deck that's flexible. And that's something I really love about Numeron Edlich. Now, give me a second to blow. These are all basically 6 copies of this card. So 6 cards in my deck. Their main purpose is to search out my Numeron network. Terraforming literally says, add a field spell from your deck to your hand. This is my field spell. Planet Pathfinder says, tribute this card, add a field spell to your hand. And Numeron Wall says, if you control no other cards, quick effect, activate Numeron Network directly from your deck. So I have 6 cards that either activate or add Numeron Network to my hand, along with my copies of Numeron Network. Now, why do you want to see this card so much? You want to make sure that you can access cards that either start your plays or give you a big boost in power and advantage. If you can see cards that give you a lot of advantage, a lot of gain, just a lot of distance between you and your opponent, that's a good card. Any card that adds a card from your deck to your hand is a good card. And Numeron Calling is basically the effect. Because Numeron Network has to be on the field, activate, and then this gets sent from the deck to the grave, which is also a good effect. And it gets the effect where I can summon special monsters to help me win the game. Now, when I activate Numeron Network and I send Calling to the graveyard, it allows me to special summon up to 4 Numeron Gate monsters with different names. Now, this is something that I would like to do every single turn. Because 1, these monsters do a lot of damage, or you can overlay them for another monster that's really awesome, Utopic Zexal. A lot of you might be familiar with Zexal. You activate him, your opponent can't activate anything. That's so disgustingly powerful. Now, are there ways around it? Yes. If you draw into like an Impermanence or a Forbidden Chalice that negate a monster's effects, you can get around it. Or if you have Psyframe Driver, negate and destroys it, you can get around it. But if you don't draw those hand traps, or you don't draw something that can get rid of it, then you're not playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And that is insanely powerful. That makes you feel almost as bad as a dead draw. We don't want to feel those dead draws. 9 cards, a quarter of my deck is dedicated to doing that one thing. And that's only because I don't have more cards that can search it. So the next part of my deck would be my draw engine. I want to see those cards. I want to get into those cards. And if I got multiples, I can use those and get more cards. So for draw cards, I have Magician's Soul. Magician's Soul can special summon by sending any level 6 or lower spellcaster monster to the graveyard. And then it special summons, and you get to exchange any spell or trap in your hand or that you control, send it to the graveyard, and draw that many cards. That is fantastic. It's amazing. And some people might think that the Apprentice Illusion Magician is a dead draw. Honestly, it can be sometimes. But if you've got the right hand, all you have to do is pitch a card to special summon it And honestly, I kind of like pitching cards with this deck. It's pretty good. And then if you have it in your hand, you can normal summon Magician's Souls and make Magician's Souls 2K, which surprises a lot of people. Next, we've got Memories of Hope. This lets me draw a card for every number Xyz monster with a different name I control. How many am I allowed to bring out? 4. If I see a way to get to my Numeron network, and I've got this card in hand, I get to draw 4 that turn. Isn't Pot of Greed banned? And Pot of Greed just says draw 2? That might be greedy deck building, but it's tasty. I will tell you, it is tasty. All right, next is the hand trap lineup. So I run 2 Droll and Lockbird. Droll, I feel, is really nice. You always want to be able to take away or stop more of what your opponent's doing than what it's costing you to stop it. So like, if this was an Ash Blossom, they have a, let's say they have a card that searches a card. So they activate a card that searches from the deck. I negate that with Ash Blossom that stops cards from searching from the deck. That's a 1-for-1. So now that card's done. But they could have another card that searches their cards from the deck and then still do their plays. I like Droll and Lockbird because if you have decks that do that 3, 4, 5, 18 times, I think, in Infernobles, adding cards from deck to hand is stopped completely for the turn. And that is, it's so powerful. I love that. I might bump that up to 3. I'm liking 2 right now. Because I also play the Psyframes. Now, Psyframe is good, but here's something cool. So 1, he stops any monster effect anytime, as long as you don't have monsters on the field, or if you have Psyframe land on the field that says you can activate him anyway. So he is really cool because he negates and destroys. So they lose that monster completely, and hopefully the resources they used trying to get to it. He is a turn ender. These both are turn enders, and it is, I think it's a great lineup. I really like what they can do. So we have 3 Cursed Eldlin. Searches any Golden Land card or boy. Searches Golden Boy. A lot of people don't know that. You can search Golden Boy. 1 Elixir of White Destiny, because, well, 1, it's a different name to use for your Eldritch traps. And then 2, it's not ashable, because it comes from either the graveyard or the hand. So if you've got an Eldy Boy in grave, right out of there. Next, Guardian of the Golden Land, because he says any monster that attacks your Golden Boy is like 0 attack. So if they make something real big, they attack over your defense or attack, make it 0 and they take at least 2,500 points of damage. 2 Hawk Hero. Really nice card. Against the Invocation matchup, I always banish their Invocation after they use it, because then it stops them from recurring that Alistair to the hand. So, really good card. Next would be 3 Conquistador. Does not target, but pops any face-up card on the field. Crazy good. And another card for summoning Golden Boy, 3 Elixir of Scarlet Sanguine, because summoning Golden Boy from the deck or grave is really good. Next, we have 2 Golden Boy. I kind of lowered it on Golden Boy. I went down to 2. I was playing 3 for the longest time, but I went down to 2 because I can add him to hand with these, and I can search him with these. And having him in the hand isn't as good most of the time as keeping him in the deck. So yeah, because most of the time I don't really want to see him in my hand, and if I do, I usually add him with this. It's usually pretty easy. So that is the Edlich lineup. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 Edlich cards. And then lastly, some big blowout cards. I have 2 Judgment and 2 Triple Tactics. Triple Tactics is awesome because if you do get hand trapped, sometimes this works out to where you can draw 2 cards, take control of a monster on your opponent's field, or look at your opponent's hand and choose a card from it to shuffle into the deck. So it's a great card, and Solemn Judgment just says no. It's a trap, so it's kind of slow, but it just says no. So I think the best way to build a deck in today's Yu-Gi-Oh meta is you do want some interruption for your opponent's turn. Even if you're going first deck, I feel like running a few hand traps is nice, because for those times when you lose the die roll or you're forced to go second, it's nice to have some interaction on your opponent's turn and to maybe not help them extend so far. Usually, if a deck just goes on and plays unnegated, it's usually pretty crazy. So I think having just a few hand traps in the main deck is really good. And then you always want draw power. Usually players cannot get enough draw power. And drawing cards, adding extra resources to your hand, giving you a big advantage against your opponent is really good. Draw into cards you need, draw into cards to help extend your plays. It's a really good thing to be able to do in your deck. Either search or draw a bunch. And then we've got some hardcore interruptions, some hardcore no's. Negate anything in the game, just pay half your life points. You'll always be able to activate this. You'll always be able to slice your life points in half. There's never going to be a situation where you can't activate Judgment, because half is a relative term, and at sometimes I've only paid a couple hundred life points to activate that. And it's such a powerhouse card. And then the other cards in your deck that destroy, interrupt, when you can play on your opponent's turn, that's usually really good. Being able to play with your opponent, basically, is a lot of the interaction that makes Yu-Gi-Oh! 1, a really fun game, a really interactive game, but 2, also really annoying. So, yeah. So really, this is my deck right now. I've got 43 cards, and if I go first, it's usually pretty good. If I go second, usually it's pretty good. My main goal, though, is to go first, open up one of these cards, go into my Zexal play, and then not let you play Yu-Gi-Oh! I feel like this is a very chink in the armor kind of deck, because it's really easy to set up your board to look vulnerable, to where your opponent clears it for you, and then you can go into your Zexal play. I love baiting people in, and then just smacking them next game. It's really satisfying. I just love the comebackativeness, you know? Like Yugi and Kaiba! Just come on back. Come on back and blow them out of the water. And, yeah, enjoy the game of Yu-Gi-Oh, I guess. It's pretty fun. So, that has been how to build a deck. I I felt like the best way to explain was to kind of just go over my deck and basically just do a deck profile on the Edlich Numeron deck and just kind of explain the logic and the thought process behind it. And hopefully this helped you out a bit. Different archetypes have different cards that you can use to draw and search. Just read your cards. Ask your friends if they have any ideas. Ask if they have any spare decks they want to get rid of. Just start with a pre-made deck, learn how it works, get a feel for it, and then just build up from there. The best part about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that each deck is pretty much its own little experience. Someone's thought of it, someone's looked at how cards play well together or how they don't play well together, and they're like, I think this combination is the best choice. And then they go and they win nationals and they win regionals and they get on YouTube and talk about their deck and how cool they are. And that's the kind of person that we want to be. So, advice, learn your deck, learn what other decks do, and learn what you can do to be the best. Catch them all. So with that, I will say goodbye and good luck. Have fun.